Proverbs 18:24 states, "A man who has friends must himself be friendly, but there is a friend who sticks closer than a brother." In this quest, we will investigate a biblical friendship occurring in the Old Testament. We will discuss what the friendship between these two men entailed and how it brought them closer to God. We will also discuss how these two men met and how they influenced each other's lives. But first, we will watch an interview Jason had with Melchizedek on how one finds a good friend.
So, how do you find a good friend?
A good friend? You can find a good friend by checking their attitude, their characteristics, because a good friend is always loyal, they're always there by your side, they'll always help you, and they will never betray you. And that's how you find a good friend.
Good.
As Melchizedek said, a good friend is loyal, is always there by your side, they always help you, and will never betray you.
Similarity throughout the Bible, we see many instances of biblical friendship between Jesus and his followers, or Old and New Testament individuals. One of the most influential biblical friendships was between Elijah and Elisha. It's important to notice that Elisha was also a mentor to Elisha and was getting him ready to be the next prophet in Israel. Elijah was preparing him to perform miracles with the help of God throughout Israel. Character traits we see in Elijah are that he was a bold man of God, but also confrontational. He was not afraid to speak up against King Ahab's wrongdoings. In contrast, Elisha was humble and persistent, staying with Elijah until he went up to heaven. Both he and Elijah performed many miracles through the Lord's power.
Elijah was a prophet during the reign of King Ahab during the 9th century BCE. Elijah not only confronted King Ahab on his actions of worshipping Baal, but he also predicted a drought, performed miracles, sent fire down from heaven, and did not die but was taken up to heaven by a whirlwind. He was a true man of God and served him dutifully throughout his life. However, he knew that his life was coming to an end, so God instructed Elijah to appoint Elisha as his successor. In fact, God gave him 3 tasks to do. They were to anoint Jehu as Israel's king, anoint Hazael as king over Syria, and then to anoint Elisha as the next prophet, which he did first.
Elijah found Elisha plowing in his father's field and symbolically wrapped his cloak around him, showing that Elisha would be the next prophet. After this, Elisha hurriedly left his job, his home, and followed Elijah, showing that he was committed to God's calling. During their final days together, both men decided to stop at a couple prophetic communities. They traveled to Giga, then to Bethel, then to Jericho, and then to the Jordan River. During this time, the sons of prophet, who were disciples under the prophet, warned Elisha that Elijah would be taken away soon, to which he responded that he already knew. It is evident that Elisha was determined to stay with Elijah until Elijah would go to heaven. During their time together, Elijah parted the Jordan River with his cloak, and both men passed through, which showcased the power of God.
Before Elijah was taken up to heaven, he asked Elisha what he wanted. Elisha replied by saying that he wanted a double portion of his spirit, which showed the transition from God's spirit into Elisha. Moments later, 2 Kings 2:11 states, "Then it happened, as they continued on and talked, that suddenly a chariot of fire appeared with horses of fire and separated the two of them, and Elijah went up by a whirlwind into heaven." As the custom was, Elisha tore his clothes in mourning, then picked up Elijah's cloak, which was a symbol of prophetic authority. Elisha would then go on to perform miracles and become an advisor to the kings of Israel and Judah during times of war and economic crisis. There are several factors that we can take away from this friendship. The first is mentorship. It is evident that Elijah did not only train Elisha with words of wisdom, but through shared experiences and miracles. The second is obedience, in that both men feared and followed God and his just commands, even if they'd be persecuted for it. The third is that it showed prophetic authority. Elijah passed leadership to Elisha, not just through his cloak, but also in spirit, giving him the spirit of a humble servant ready to bring Israel back to God. Elisha would then go on to do double the amount of miracles as Elijah did, in hopes to restore Israel as a God-fearing society.
It is not surprising that the friendship between Elijah and Elisha is one of that Proverbs 18:24 describes as friend who stick close that brother. Their friendship was deeply rooted a bond that could only be established with God as the foundation. John 15:13 powerfully supports this when it started that rather love has no one that this, to lay down one's life for your friends. Mr. Yu wonderfully describes this in the interview between him and Jason.
So, Mr. Yu, I'm gonna ask you, what is the Bible definition of a good friend?
I love that. So, from what I've learned from the Bible, we know Jesus is our friend, right?
Yeah.
And so Jesus sets the example. Jesus would do anything for us. So I think one basic principle is we should do everything for our friend, right? To help our friend, especially if they're in need. But there's one particular place where Jesus said, there is no greater love than a person who lays down his life for a friend. So I think the ultimate friendship, definitely it's based on love, right? Like any relationship. But this love has to be so to the max, so ultimate that you are willing to sacrifice even your personal life for that friend.
In short, the relationship between Elijah and Elisha was a biblical relationship rooted in God's love. We can correlate this type of friendship between us and God. God is a mentor to all of us, giving us signs when we are living in sin and giving us a moral compass to determine right from wrong.